So I'll start from the beginning. So my name is Bakang. I can take that off. The founder of a company called Muesli. So we make granola for breakfast. And then I co-founded a podcast called Lucky Day. And we still talk about branding. We specialize in branding and in the future of work. So today, I want to do something very dynamic. So I will read your question as we speak. I like having conversation and I want to make sure that you guys are involved. The idea here is kind of feel like talk about the challenges of work tomorrow and the things that company need to do if they want to make sure that they are capable of involving the employees the way they should. So one of the first thing that I see, one of the main let's say problem that I see is that when it comes to working remote, there is this thing with inclusion. The companies that works now they have to be as inclusive as possible. And what do I mean by inclusive? I mean that employees need to be involved in all the conversations, to make sure that the place of work, as we see, becomes somewhere where they feel safe, they feel heard, and they feel like something can change. The second challenge that I see is that now all those sentences that we hear from companies, which is this is how we do it, this is who we are, this is our goal, you really have to mean it now. Why? Because once you're an employee working from home, you need a purpose. You already needed a purpose when you were working um, at the office, but now it's even more because now your employee needs to know why he's doing what he's doing, how he's changing the world, and how can he make sure that his fuel, his goal are still being met. So to do that, there is a lot of different things, and like I was saying earlier, is to involve your employees. And involving your employee means to me that you should have sessions where you talk to them, you let them know exactly where are you guys going. And I'm not talking about we are trying to cut, and excuse me for the term, but the bullshit that we hear from companies where they talk about how they do business meeting, how they do submit with the employees, but it really doesn't go anywhere. We are talking now about creating a link with your employees, respecting their needs, and also understanding that the world is changing, which means when we talk about being flexible, it's really being flexible. And I'll give you an example. Um, I think we all experienced the transition from being in the pandemic, so going to a 100% remote situation, to now having your boss or us when we're bosses telling our employees to come back and just come back to work. And a lot of things can be still done at work, and a lot of employees they're still gonna ask you can't work from home. But we still have this little we are afraid, we're scared, and we kind of try to keep them at work when really you could come at 6 o'clock in the morning, leave at 9 p.m., and still be on Instagram. So one thing that company needs to do now is take a step back, listen to the employees, and also make sure that they give the right information. Communication has a lot of positive impact, and the major positive impact is that it's going to force companies to tell their managers exactly what they need to do. When I say need to do, is basically what are the deadlines, how you have to achieve it, how can you meet someone there, all those things that could be kind of hidden in spending the day at the office and seeing that person do something over there and kind of be bothered when that person was on the cell phone is over now. Like in the future, hopefully close enough, your manager has to be prepared and know exactly what he needs to meet the deadlines, which means that the boss has to be able to define those deadlines. And also, that's going to have the impact of having an employee that knows what he has to do, doesn't need to really worry about anything else, but to meet those deadlines. And then that employee can organize its time to make that happen. And this is like key. This is key to me. This is key, I think, for the future work, because that really means that we used to think that we were letting the employees organize themselves when we really were. And now it's going to be mandatory. It's going to be mandatory because once that happens, you don't have to be at home. You don't have to be at work. You could be anywhere. But as long as you do what you have to do, that puts the job and the workload back on not only managers that always had the workload, but also on the CEOs that really have to think about, okay, this is what I mean when I mean this is what I need uh, for my company to be successful. So this is one point. Another point that's important, I said it a little bit, is the mental health, which is super important. Obviously, there's a lot of ways to make your employees happy, travels when you have the money, and things of that nature. But what we have learned with the pandemic is that offices are going to shrink a little bit, and their purpose is going to change a little bit. It's always and still going to be a place where you can come and work. Obviously, it's not going to change. You're going to meet your team. It's not going to change. But the future, to me, is thinking your office is like a place where you're supposed to live an experience. You can be let's say, even Tuesday to Sunday. But when you come on that Monday, you want to live an experience. It's a place where you're excited to come and meet your fellow comrades. You guys work together. Something is happening, but you're nourishing something else. As a company, you're nourishing your employees with something else, purpose. So maybe they're gonna come once or twice a week, but when they come to be resourced, refurnished. They are excited. There's news. There's a new vision, all those things. So it's going to shift, and the importance now of what you're doing at home, or how you're feeling at home, or all the condition in which you're working from home are going to be questions that are mandatory for you to understand that how can you better um, set your employee to be in a position to win. And I think it's huge because now when we all see those memes where, oh man, Monday, and you come in there and you're not even happy to be there. It has to change. If I had to go to a stream, going to work should be party day. It should be that day where, okay, I'm in there, I'm having fun, we're gonna play games, um, it's gonna be collaborative. Um, this is supposed to be that, and I think this is what it's going to be. And this is one of the keys. There's also another point. We are seeing it. Technology. Um, it pushed us like 5 years. Um, and one thing that I see a lot. I don't know if you guys know cafe. If you don't know cafe, I'll put the link. Um, I'll put it here. Or I'll give you official. Official. Okay. And those are companies that understand that the future of work is also allowing, like I said earlier, employees to kind of organize from a distance. And you have a ton of different apps like that one that will allow companies to kind of let different segment departments organize themselves. And I give you an example. You're working in the marketing area within the company. You need a room to go to work and work with your fellow workers. You can go on there. You guys choose a room and you guys meet on Wednesday, for example, do the workload, and then leave, and then you might not be back at the office for a couple of weeks. So those are really the elements that to me changing, and that's going to come even like further, and that should be taken into consideration. So I'll take some more. Don't hesitate if you already have questions for what I just said. Don't hesitate because I'm gonna pick up on that. So um, yeah, like I was saying, so the employees are definitely like the key center of everything. And if it's not being seen by the CEOs or the companies, I think a lot of CEOs and companies are going to lose key elements to kind of make sure that the company is successful. Get this here up. So there is a couple things that we see already right now, and those are key learnings that we learned from the pandemic. One learning is that the people that suffered the most from the pandemic were women, especially women that were in a couple situation. What tends to happen during the pandemic is that men would have the living room, would have the office, and the women would have to kind of be sacrificed to take care of the kids, clean around, and do all that. So the pandemic wasn't equal, and this is something that should be taken into consideration when we move, you know, time, or just working straight. So there are different ways in which companies can make sure that the conditions of employees are respected. The first thing that we saw and that we've seen is like the likes of Spotify and those companies, Google and such, they created a little budget for you to get your desk and to make sure that you could work. I think we should go a bit further, and it would be good to hire a professional or mentor that is at the office for employees to be able to talk about the condition in which they're working at home. I think it's key because if the shift happened the way it is going to happen in a few years, I think it's going to be you always have fast change, then a slow burn, and then it goes back up. So the fast change was us moving 5 years with the pandemic. We know it's possible now. And then there's this period of time where everybody's kind of scared. And I'm talking about CEO companies in general. They try to keep you within the company. Old rules, they are going to be a bit more flexible, but they're going to try to keep you in there. And then naturally and slowly it's going to go back to more flexibility and remote. And basically, the companies the one are going to be successful are the one that are going to learn from that curve right now and kind of move up. And what we see is the companies that are the most innovative are the ones that are the boldest. So bold is trying new things, is not being scared of not being right. A lot of companies that have done that right are tech companies. Obviously, they've done it for a long time. They know a lot of different things. So one of the companies that we check is all the companies that do um, that work with developers. So either you work for your remote, you're used to doing it. They know how to create a connection with them. There is the one thing that everybody is looking for, and no one has the answer yet. We are all seeking for it. Is how do you maintain the culture when half of your employees are across the world. Um, for a long period of time, it was pretty easy. Yes, you can maintain it at the office, but also you had this kind of you could put everything on this is the goal of the company, and people would mistake it for it being the culture. So I'll give you my suggestions. For me, one way to maintain the culture is to invest now more than ever. Again, it won't sound like it's the same, but in gathering your employees in events that constantly remind them of the purpose. And there's two purposes. There's the purpose of the company. This is where we need to go, and this is how we need to do it to succeed. But there's also the purpose of the employee as an employee. So, how can I, as a company, make you better? How can I help you accomplish your own goals? And it used to be bullshit talk. Now it has to become something real. And to make that happen, you need to understand, you need to be curious enough, you need to listen, and you need to listen to figure out these are my employees' aspiration. And you don't only ask that when it's time to recruiting. You will ask that, all year around. And then how can we help you do that? If one of your employee has like a passion, a side, how can the company kind of accompany you in furthering that curiosity? So all those little elements are elements that's going to help your employee feel at home and feel trusted and trusted enough to express the fact that, okay, well, my number one mission right now might be to help the company. I can do them within the umbrella of the company. Another thing that's very important for the culture is also understanding and knowing that as an employee, you want to move up quickly. How do you move up quickly when you work from home? Is there going to be a difference between the one that stays close to the boss at the office and me, for example, that stays at home? And so, once again, communication is key. Having real rating is key, and having managers that have a real understanding of what needs to be done is key. I want to say that us being human beings, the closer you have to your boss, you are, most likely to have more, let's say, leverage. But at the end of the day, in a perfect world, the person that kind of execute the best, and you don't even have to see them, but they're doing the best. As long as you negotiate your deal well, you will have this moving up. So for all the companies, one thing for sure, you have to be very, very clear on how you are going to make sure that your employee is going to be able to move up quickly and even from a distance. This is imperative to me. Um, what do I have left for you guys? Yes. Um, and don't hesitate if you have like questions. But one last thing, because I see it's already 3:30, even though we're kind of late. One last thing that's to me very important for all the companies is to kind of find a way to, if it's possible and when it's possible, have your employees to kind of like give them a side project that's something they can actually accomplish. And I will give you an example so that we have something practical. I was lucky enough to be mentoring for a company, L'Oreal. Everybody knows L'Oreal here. And one thing that I did that worked very well is to go to the employees I was working with, ask them, okay, so what do you do? They tell me what they do. Then I go and talk to their bosses and ask them what are they supposed to do. And usually it's kind of there is like some difference there. I also ask them, what would you like to do? And one thing that happen often is that you might be at one position right now, and for years you've been willing to go to another position. And if the connection is not there, it's not happening. Something quicker, small, in a smaller scale that you can do is that you can ask them to do a project from the other department. They don't have to move to the other department right away. It's just a quicker, efficient way to have them show them skills and kind of like prove that they can go on the other side and do the work. That has two impacts. The first impact is that um, your employee feels like he's being heard. The second is how quick you can put that in place. The third is how fast you can have a result. And those small things, you have to see them as um, quick push that has your employee excited. This is what happened at work. This is what I'm going to do. This is how we are moving up. This is what I'm trying. And this is where I see myself. So at the end of the day, more than ever, the future of work is employees. During the pandemic, remote employees have started working long hours. How do you set boundaries? Very good question, Monica. So the question is, during the pandemic, remote employees have started working long hours. How do you set boundaries and set preferred work hours? I think there should be rules when it comes to that. I think there should be rules set by companies, but also helped by the employees. That and those after those hours, there's no more email, no more phone calls, and it should be written in a, let's say, a rule book that kind of allowed you to say stop. No, it's true. That's something that we have seen a lot, and I've seen a couple of companies that have done that. So there's a few companies out there that are already have a set rule within the office where after a certain hours there's no more work, and also in the same way in the morning there's not work, no email before certain time. Please, if you have like other questions like Monica just asked, it'd be my pleasure. Are you okay, you guys, to start questions? Okay, Nicola. Companies need to set boundaries when it comes to what is acceptable when working from home, and it needs to be led by the team leader. Head up. Yes, it needs to be led by the team leader, but again, it always comes with this conversation. So, um, for the team leader to be able to go back to the boss and actually say what's going on, there needs to be either technology when we have Slacks and things like that, but it doesn't really work. But something where the team leader can actually go to the boss and say, "This is a poll. This is what's going on. Those are the numbers. Those are the screenshot of what's going on. We need change." And I'll give you and everything that revolves around those type of topic when it has to come with data. But I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree with you. To give you another example, real quick, on inclusivity, especially here in France, we are not as advanced as companies in the UK. So inclusivity is still a real like it's a difficult, complex subject, and companies have a hard time explaining it. So I was put in a company, and I had to do a little research, and I first audited the CEO of the company, and he told me there were no problem in the company, no problem of equity, stuff like that. So I went to talk to the employees, and they wrote me notes. And it was like 90% of employees felt like there was a huge problem, a lack of diversity, lack of equity, and a lot of different communication problems. And so when I came back to him with data, there were nothing he could do, nothing. And so this is like extremely important to come with those. But at the end of the day, you're right. It has to be led by the team leader, and he has to go there and kind of make sure that they understand what it actually means. Also, and I don't know yet how to put that together, but this is something that I've encountered a lot. I know that CEOs have a hard time understanding that the soul and hard work they put in the companies is never going to be the same an employee is going to put. You are not giving them, 50% shares of your company. So it's just ridiculous to assume and expect something like that. So I think it's like a reminder that, and I don't know how to tell them yet, but I'm working on it. Do you guys have other questions, suggestions? Could be something that I missed that um, should be a scripture to talk about. You guys let me know. Okay. I'll ask you something then. What's the major challenge you guys faced during the pandemic? If someone can answer that. What is the major or the main challenge that uh, they faced during the pandemic, working from home, for example? Nothing? Okay. Well, I think that the session is done. So just to repeat it, to sum it up, um, first of all, put your employees forward. They have to be at the center of everything. They are they are giving you the temperature, if I may say, of the company. Make sure that there is a right balance between technology and human interaction. Super important. So um, there will be a flip side. So there will be a change where a lot of people are going to work from home, and they are going to expect that the time they spend at the company is fun, and it's driving. As far as productivity, that's where technology comes in place, and there has to be a mixture between management and technology. Um, Managers, of course, along with the leaders, have to be able to define what are the main objectives, the steps to get to the main objective, super important. And they have to find this drive to kind of have those employees um, organize the time the way they want it, as long as they know that they have those deadlines to meet. Oh, this is important. Um, Third point is culture. So for the culture, um, super important to tell our employee or remind our employee constantly why they are doing what they're doing. Um, there's cool little things that I didn't talk about, but that are to me cool. One company did it pretty well is to send, if especially small company, the company has a lot of budget, is to send every now and then home to the employees little card notes. The card note has the mission, has congratulations on how you help in the company with a little present. Sometimes it might be something as simple as having um, a free card or free access to something, a book, so those are like little thoughtful gesture that can make the difference, and that can make you feel like, okay, I'm at home. I haven't seen my coworkers in a minute, but I still feel like this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Those are the changes that we are making, and they care about me, and this is what they do. So they never forget about me. So those are cool little things that can work. You can do the same thing with food. I've seen it also, and it works well. I'll give you an example. You guys are all working from home. The team leader is with you via video Zoom, and then at lunch, everyone received from the folks. My example is the marketing team, but everyone received a little meal, at the same time. And those are little experiences that are, oh, we receive at the same time, and you guys eat, and it can be fun. I would say it could be fun. So, Ashley Willis, how would you deal with the problem of unequal distribution of workload, especially with the nature of remote work? That's a good question. What is the best way for a manager to assess impairment? That's a very good question. I read it out loud. So, how would you deal with the problem of unequal distribution of workload, and especially with the nature of remote work? What is the best way for managers to assess impairment? This is very, very complex. This is kind of difficult, because to me, there's a mixture of technology of between technology and human. So as far as the workload, this is a conversation to be had, because um, once again, like when everyone is kind of clear on what needs to be done, there is a point where we can now see, okay, this is realistic, this is not realistic. Those deadlines cannot be met. And that's why for example, the employee has to be put back at the center, and conversation and well-being has to be the number one priority. That's the only way that we can be productive, and that's how you can detect when someone has too much work, when a department has too much work, and when it has to be either people has to be recruited, or some things have to go simply. Um, we are often all facing this thing in companies that are growing fast, where you have one employee that does the job of six, seven. And it's not possible. And we know it's not possible. And what happens when that happens is just that the job is not done properly. How can it be? It can't be done properly. So I would suggest that, and it's like a difficult, tough task for the manager. It has to be done. Then again, it has to come with data, and the data there is just how employee feels, as simple as that. And then it's also a reality. Usually, you can base reality on the past. That's something that people are gonna fight against, but they cannot really fight too much. So based on our experience, and usually, they have at least a couple months experience. We did that in the past. Why? Because usually that's something that tend to come back often. This did not work. Those are the reasons. Now, this is them. Then this is how employees feel. Now that I know exactly what are my tasks, now that I know the deadlines, I can easily talk to my employees, or the employees that I manage, and we all know that's something that's not going to be done. So one thing that can be done is to, when it's possible, hopefully, the leaders understand, but have everyone in a room, or once again, the technology thing. I'm not often at the office, but when I come to the office, it's for something important. So that's one of them. And you talk to your leader, and now you have two conversations. Well, one conversation and 2 points. The first point is, The ambition is great. We are not going able to do all of that. Now, the problem is there. Let's work straight away on the solution. The solution is how can we diminish or take apart tasks that are not really, necessary and still meet our goal. So I think that that's the main way to do about it. I didn't like by what I said, I didn't change the word, but it's it's a matter of kind of coming with enough data that even the leader, if he's in the mindset or her or she's in the mindset of understanding um, the employees and that you want something, you rather have something that works, something that is done right, than have 100 things done wrong. Chaos around you. Um, yeah, so that's what I would say. Hopefully, I answered your question. All right, all right. I think if someone has asked the question, I think they are um, coming to here. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you so much. Okay, well, if you guys don't have any more questions, I think that my time is now, and I will say goodbye, you guys. Enjoy the rest of your sessions and enjoy this beautiful conference. Have a good day. Oh, you can find me in my social media if you want to. I'm on LinkedIn. It's somewhere in my profile. If you have other questions, just reach me there. It'll be a pleasure. Goodbye, guys.